Hi, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening, Valerie. How's everyone doing this evening?
Fantastic. Thank you for doing this. You guys do such a great job. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Valerie.
Yay. Hey, Jeff. Look at Glenn.
Hi, Valerie.
Hello there, handsomes.
Hey, Ariel, how you doing?
All is well, Tim. And yourself?
Good to hear, and the same.
Awesome.
All right, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I put the May agenda and the April 2021 minutes in the chat. We'll give it a few minutes and we'll go get started. I'm going to turn off my camera for a minute and grab some water.
Hey, Amanda, are you in your new place? Can't tell because your Zoom background.
Oh, my dad's here. We moved a little bit. Well, no, we moved almost.
Her dad did everything.
I did a lot. We rented
Her
it.
dad did everything.
We
Her
moved.
dad did everything.
Shut up. We moved a lot, like almost everything today. But I have this apartment until June 14th. So
Okay.
I'm gonna be like back and forth.
All
But
right.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm so happy.
Congratulations, and good for you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the world of debt. Welcome to the world of debt.
Well, at least I'm going in debt and it's mine, and I'm not just paying my apartment building anymore. So
It's called good. It's called good debt. It's called good debt.
Yes. Yeah.
To do is just imagine that there are these little guys working day and night, adding value to the place that you bought every day, every night, while you sleep soundly, party on, and do everything else. You are now a capitalist. Welcome to the club.
Thank you, Jeff.
Jeff is always so wise.
Yes.
Actually, a wise guy, actually, Valerie.
All right, everyone, I'm going to post the agenda and the minutes again into the chat. So if you haven't had a chance to review those, so we sent out via email, I think on Friday, as well as earlier today, you can take a moment to review those and we'll get started here in just a minute. All right, folks, it's 7:05. We will go ahead and start our meeting. I'm going to pop back into the chat one last time, and then throughout the meeting if needed, the agenda for tonight's meeting, as well as our minutes from April from last month. So 7:05 p.m. My name is Matthew Land. I'm the president of the Miami Beach Democratic Club. Welcome. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. I know there's tons of other places you can be on a Monday night, and we are so glad that you're here with us. So I don't think we've quite yet made quorum, and Amanda will certainly let us know when we do hit quorum. But for now, I will go ahead and start off. We will go ahead and start off with just executive board reports. I do not have too much to update as far as the DEC is going. The DEC did not meet this month due to not having any actual serious business to be need to be approved by the general body. So reports from each one of the committees were submitted, and they're going to be distributed those to us. So if there's anything relevant that we should report to you all on, we certainly will make sure that you guys are updated on that. As far as my actual president's report itself, though, I will let our guest speaker, State Representative Michael Grieco, who's going to be joining us shortly. He's currently right now in a House Democratic caucus meeting of the Democrat state representatives in Tallahassee. They're all up there in Tallahassee for the special legislative session on ratifying the Seminole Indian Tribes gaming compact with the state. So we're super excited to have him join us a little bit later. So I'm going to let him fill us in on all the details as to what passed, the good, the bad, the ugly, what failed, what were some good victories that we had, and you all will have a great opportunity to ask him questions about some of the stuff that happened this past legislative session. But something that I do want to focus a little bit on is Senate Bill 90. Senate Bill 90 is an elections bill, but it's been a little bit more accurately dubbed the voter suppression bill. This bill does a number of changes to the ways that our elections are conducted. Everything from how often your mail-in ballot request is valid for. It used to be for every 2 general election cycles. This now changes to only 1 general election cycle. To who's able to drop off those ballots at those early voting locations in the mail drop ballot drop boxes, along with things like signature matching requirements. A host of other features that make it difficult for voters to actually turn out to vote during the election season. Coming off of what everybody, including our governor and our legislative leaders, Republicans, Democrats as well, both the House and the Senate, termed a very historic election. I mean, our results statewide were reported very shortly after the closing of all the precincts throughout the state, in an election that didn't see as many challenges as other states did. It seemed very unwise that they would put forward some of these measures. I will tell you that the bill that was first filed, as compared to what bill ultimately passed, is light years away from being as damaged as it could have been. But one of the things that we are going to continue focusing on is making sure that our Democrats are registered to vote by mail. We know that this is a very safe and effective tool for people to be able to actually make sure that the votes get counted each and every single election cycle. In this past year during the pandemic, we certainly saw Democrats' numbers rise exponentially in vote by mail ballot requests, as well as actually turning those absentee ballots in. And we know that this is not something that cannibalized early voting or even in-person voting. The numbers of people voting increased significantly. Unfortunately, those numbers weren't enough for us to win Florida for our president. However, we did see a significant uptick in people who are voting by mail. And that's something we want to continue working on. So upcoming, this Saturday is going to be our first phone bank that we're going to be having Saturday, May the 22nd from 12 to 3, where we're going to be enrolling Miami Beach Democrats into vote by mail, or making sure that they are re-enrolled in the vote by mail if it could have lapsed. Again, those are available right now for 2 general election cycles, but there are people who could have fallen off of that. So we will continue working to enroll our Democrats in vote by mail and make sure that they've been re-enrolled appropriately as well. So our first phone bank is going to be this Saturday, May the 22nd from 12 to 3. We're going to be holding another one on Wednesday, June the 16th. Which is it's a Wednesday from 5 to 8 p.m. And then again, that Saturday, June the 19th from 12 to 3. We might have additional phone banks coming up as well in June and possibly even a text message bank. And if so, keep an eye out for your inboxes on our social medias, or you can find out more information about that. So that for now is my president's report, and I very much look forward to hearing from our State Representative Michael Grieco in just a little bit here to update us on all the other stuff that happened in the legislative session. With that, I will turn it over to our Vice President, Amanda Knapp.
Hi everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. So me and Matthew have been trying to figure out about having an in-person meeting again. How exciting. So we are thinking we're shooting for the third Monday in August. And we're also going to do the Zoom aspect. So if you guys aren't comfortable of in person, then you can stream on Zoom. But if you are comfortable, of course, we'll have masks and socially distance. So that's very positive and exciting that we get to all see each other again in person. So that's what I have for you tonight.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Is Janet on? Janet, perfect. Would you like to give us the Secretary's report?
Let me unmute myself. Yeah. Hi. Yes. So as of today, we have 129 members, which is great. And we're always trying to have more. And I've been focusing on trying to make people aware of the fact that their membership is expiring when it's expiring. And so for those people who are expiring in May, which is 14 people, you'll know who you are because you got an email from me today saying, you know, friendly reminder, your membership is expiring. So please join or, renew your membership. That would be great. And that's kind of all I have.
Thank you so much, Janet. I want to thank Janet very publicly right now for taking on this kind of expired membership list. It's proactive. We were working on the back end to try to reach out to some folks who have expired for whatever reason to make sure that they're renewing if they'd like to. It's something they've been striving to do, and has been a goal of ours, is to very much proactively reach out to members before they're expiring. So Janet, thank you so much for undertaking this. So if you get a phone call from Janet or a text message or an email, make sure to reply to her, and we'd love for you to renew your dues as well. Perfect. Next up, we will have Patrick Breshik. You have a treasurer's report.
Hi, Matt. Sorry, I'm multitasking here at home. I typed it into the chat with the amounts. My current bank balance is $5,996, and we had $152 in expenses and $96 in incoming this amount. So all good, and we still have a healthy balance for our projects when we start getting back in person again.
Perfect. Thank you, Patrick. Sorry, I did not realize that you put that already in the chat. We appreciate you multitasking and joining us tonight. All right, we will go ahead and move into committee reports. David Geller, I know he was trying to get away from work. He is the aide to Mayor of Broward County, and they have a commission meeting tomorrow. Is David here? I don't think he's on. Okay, well, we will skip David and come back to him if he does end up joining us. Next up, Communications Committee.
Hello, everyone. So not much change from last month as far as communications go. We sent out maybe five emails over the last month, and about 15, about a 15% open rate. That's still decent. We have a couple new blog posts. As a matter of fact, I posted a link to one of those blog posts that Matt wrote, kind of his recap of the legislative session. It's in the chat. Check that out if you would like. I'm going to post a couple things more in the chat. We like what our reach is, how many followers we have on all our social media. If you are interested, I just posted that. I'm also going to post all of our social media handles and how to get in touch with us. should you want to. And I just posted that in the chat too. That's it, Matt, back to you.
All right, thank you so much. We do not have a fundraising chair. If anybody is interested in helping us out with fundraising, we did recently revise some of our kind of job duties and descriptions as a board and as a leadership team. And so as a fundraising chair, your committee would be responsible for ensuring to work to put on at least one fundraiser for our club itself each year, as well as one charity kind of fundraiser. So, in the past, we've done like a period product drive where we raise money to pay for period products. We've done other things in the past. We've had a silent date auction, or not silent date auction, a donating of services auctions, things like that. Just different types of events that have helped raise our club funds so that we can continue the good work about registered Democrats and making sure Democrats turn out for each election. So if you have any interest, shoot us an email at miamibeachdems@gmail.com. It's miamibeachdems@gmail.com. Aaron Boslin, our neighborhood building organizing director, is, I believe, out of the country still and not joining us this evening. But I do know that he is working to have a lot of one-on-ones. This is a report that he gave us at our board meeting earlier this month. He's still having one-on-one meetings with various people that are interested in becoming a neighborhood or building organizer. If you live in a building or in your neighborhood and are friendly with some of your neighbors, and you'd like to start reaching out to some of those that are Democrats, making sure that they're registered to vote, making sure that they're signed up for vote by mail, getting them materials about our endorsed Democratic candidates, just organizing your neighborhood and your building. Aaron would certainly love to hear from you, and I believe that he would be in touch with you when he gets back into town. Next up, Amanda, do you have anything else further for outreach?
No, just I'm gonna try to start getting together some ideas that we can do community service again, like we were doing every other month. So now that the CDC, changed the guidelines, I was thinking of looking back into organizations that we can help out in the community.
Perfect. Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate it. Next up, we will have Bill Warren, our program chair.
Good evening, everybody. Good to see everybody as usual, once a month. Last on May the 6th, the program committee, we put on our event on mental health wellness. And I want to thank all those who came out to listen to the presentation. We had a psychologist and a psychiatrist. Dr. Azam was a psychiatrist and Dr. Soto-Yofo is a psychologist. And they contributed their time for us that evening for about a little over an hour. And we had some interesting dialogue with those two mental health professionals. And what was enlightening, they talked a little bit about what the Affordable Care Act has done as far as patients' access to care. And the fact that, pre-existing conditions didn't apply anymore to people. And they didn't have to worry about that anymore when they were seeing new patients. And it was very good to hear, from people who are on the front line and know how important that the ACA has been for many people having access to good insurance. But anyway, I know Steve has posted the session on the website, and anybody who's interested in going and taking a look at it, you can still go and at your leisure, go and see that presentation. And I want to thank the people who are on the committee, Cheryl Unger and Stephanie Rios and Angel Triana, who helped to make that meeting a success. And of course, our great communication team, Steve and Olivia, who did a great job in helping us to communicate that. But again, thanks everybody who showed up, and thanks to the team who helped us put it together. We're considering doing another event. June is Pride Month. So we have some people from the LGBT community, leaders in different organizations who will probably be putting on another Zoom event towards the end of June around LGBT issues and legislation and what's moving forward for the LGBT community. So we're thinking about that for the month of June. And yeah, so if anybody have any ideas or want to, circle back to us, please feel free to contact us if there is a topic or discussion that you would like us to consider. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Bill. I will turn it over to Taneri Jimenez, our newly appointed voter registration chair. Taneri, I know she was feeling under the weather last month, wasn't able to introduce herself. So Taneri, I'll let you take the floor.
Yes, and I can't wait for you all to hear my pleasant Southern accent, but I'm still recovering with this COVID issue, so not just under the weather. But Matt put me in touch with Mary Beth Frusher, the voter registration chair for Miami-Dade Dems, and she is planning a virtual training session, and she was basically stating that wait on her to get that together so that I can participate and go from there. And thanks, Matt, sir, and everyone.
Thank you so much, Taneri. We are very excited to have Taneri hit the ground running. And as soon as we get her all trained up on some of the extra voter registration stuff, including all the changes from Senate Bill 90 that we all need to be aware about as we go to enroll voters and vote by mail, as we go out and register voters in the community, we want to make sure that we're all good to go, have our I's dotted and T's crossed. So without further ado, I will introduce our guest speaker for the evening, State Representative Michael Grieco, our State Representative. Michael, we're so glad to have you here tonight. Thank you, especially for taking the time out of your busy schedule up in Tallahassee, dealing with a gaming compact with the Seminole Tribe. I will just very quickly let you know, I talked a little bit about Senate Bill 90, but we would love to hear from you. Talk to us about Tallahassee, good, bad, ugly. What can we do?
Oh man, it sucks up here. So hello, everybody. I'm looking forward to being in person so I can actually hear people laugh at my jokes. But for the 2 or 3 of you who don't know me, I am your state representative. Proudly so. I'm in my second term now. It's my 3rd year going up, and not just going to Tallahassee, but just representing you at home as well. But I actually just got back up here about 11 o'clock this morning, went straight to the Capitol. I've been in committee meeting from pretty much since I got here till about 20 minutes ago. I just checked into the hotel. That's why you're seeing me just, I don't know, it's a brand new hotel. I haven't even figured it all out. But it is, we're up here for a special session right now. It's strictly focused on casino gaming. There's a Seminole gaming compact that's been signed off by the governor, and we have to vote on the enabling legislation and give our approval. Obviously, the city of Miami Beach in particular, to a clip of about 80%, is unsupportive of any expansion of gaming, but obviously expansion of gaming in the city of Miami Beach or in the city of Miami. I obviously operate at the will of the voters and the will of my constituents, regardless as to party. And this issue really goes across party lines when it comes to our local community. So I was appointed as the ranking Democratic member of the Gaming Compact Subcommittee. So I spent about 4 hours grilling everyone from the folks from the Seminole Tribe to their attorneys, to their lobbyists, everybody and their grandmother. And what I'll do is I'll send a link I'll try to get in the chat, but if not, I'll send a link to your folks in leadership to share, and just so you have an idea what we kind of go through. But the vote went essentially down party lines in committee, but I can tell you that for purposes of gambling, it is not a partisan issue, and there are a significant double-digit number of Republicans who are strictly down on the bill. So there is a potential that we can do some damage on this one, and we do have a seat at the table. So I'll keep you guys updated on that. I'll be up here at least until Wednesday or Thursday, and then I hope to be home for a longer clip. Now, going back to session, which was a bloodbath when it comes to being a Democrat. You know, I tell everybody the same thing: elections have consequences, and when you lose 5 seats in the Florida House, when you go from 47 members of a 120 member body to 42 members, and at least 2 of those seats were Miami-Dade County seats, you really have a tough time. I mean, now granted, most of you know I'm a relatively pragmatic, selectively moderate Democrat when it comes to a lot of issues, not really social issues, but in general. and it allows me to operate differently than some others in Tallahassee. So I was personally successful for our district. I brought back $3.4 million we have in the budget just for our district. So that's a proud accomplishment. That's something that we can say we did something. But a lot of really bad bills passed. Obviously, HB1 being one of them. Call it the anti-riot bill. Call it the anti-protest bill, which is what I called it. And most of you at least follow me on social media, and I try to put my floor debates up there for people to see. And I really, kind of pitched a fit, whether it be in one of many committees. I sit as the ranking member on the Criminal Justice Subcommittee because of my background, and it's the second term I've been able to do that. So I was the first one to really take a crack at this thing, and it definitely got watered down a little bit, but it's still just a bad bill, and it's just red meat for the base Republican voter in Florida. Going to SB 90, the elections bill, that's one that I encourage everybody to see my floor debate on. I wrapped myself literally in the American flag, and I was within an hour. I had my father in New York texting me. He's like, "What are you doing down there?" And I go, "What do you mean?" He's just like, "You're like the top line on the New York Times article they just wrote about that terrible bill, because I essentially said, 'Don't Georgia my Florida,' which got picked up on CNN and everybody else. And yeah, that's all great and cute, but I made my point that these guys and gals, but it's mainly guys, they ran a bad bill. Now I will tell you this: if Senator Pizzo was here, we would both kind of shoot you straight. It's not that bad, okay? It's not. The original version was nuclear bad. It was exceptionally terrible. It was really, really bad. If it was on a scale of 1 to 100, the original filed Senate and House versions of that bill, if that was 100, they probably passed about a 12. Okay, we destroyed that thing in the committee process. We destroyed it on the floor. We destroyed it in back rooms, in the media, and it was all done in an echo chamber, because up until today, no one was physically allowed into the Capitol building. It was unbelievable. We were like in an NBA bubble, which means that nobody could come and protest. Nobody could come in and knock on doors. Nobody was subject to public ridicule. Nobody had to face the voters or the constituents or just the general residents of Florida. So everything was just even the lobbyists couldn't come in the building. You could roll a bowling ball down the hallway. So when you're just in a building with a bunch of legislators, that's a dangerous thing. It's very dangerous. It's like a kindergarten with no teacher. And everybody was just kind of doing whatever they wanted. And they just ran these terrible bills. They ran unconstitutional nonsense bills about abortion. They ran all these the transgender bill. I mean, I can rattle off the red meat nonsense that they ran, but I can tell you that specifically the elections bill, one of the biggest pieces for me was they were trying to negate all of the existing absentee ballot requests that were filed last year for 2020, and they were trying to make it so they wouldn't be applicable for the 2022 cycle. We got them to take that out. That was probably the worst thing. Then they were going to get rid of drop boxes. Again, we stopped that. So a lot of what we fought on at the end was really just the concept of doing anything that makes it harder for even one person to vote. That's not what we should be doing. This is a democracy. We should be encouraging voting, not discouraging voting. So a lot of the hyperbole was really leading up to what ended up being not the worst final product. It was an unnecessary product. It's still a bad bill. Don't get me wrong. I voted way down on it. I debated way down on it. I publicly ridiculed them on it, but we were not as blue in the face at the end as we needed to be, because we had done such a good job of just tearing it apart throughout the process. So we did water down a lot of bad stuff, and it was just a lot of defense, and then there's a lot of nonpartisan stuff. We killed any expansion of short-term rentals or preemptions on local ability to touch short-term rentals. Same thing with preemptions on home-based businesses and a few other really bad bills that were going to negatively impact our quality of life, specifically in Miami Beach. I'm trying to be as Miami Beach specific as possible. lot of good stuff happened with Biscayne Bay, environmental issues. I can tell you that those issues historically being partisan issues, I can tell you that environmental issues, protecting our waterways, protecting our beaches, it's actually something that does happen. You know, a lot of money got set aside for septic to sewer conversions on the mainland. It doesn't really affect us on the beach, but there a lot of really good money and a lot of good legislation got passed on in the environmental space. So yeah, I mean, I can rattle off, you know, as many bills as you want, or I can just answer questions. I do miss being with you and not having a beer in my hand while I'm doing it, which is one of my favorite parts of appearing, either speaking or just attending the Democratic Club meetings in Miami Beach, because you know, we get to go to one of my favorite places and we get to just kind of let loose, and it's a lot more conversational, and I get to be in a room with a bunch of my friends. You know, it gets a little lonely up here, I will tell you. And if anybody, you know, I try to make the best of it, but I'm just going to give you something on a personal note. It's a different kind of sacrifice. You know, when I was on the city commission, the sacrifice was kind of part of your daily life. You know, you went to Whole Foods and somebody wanted to talk to you about their street light or their pothole, or you just were always trying to fix things. You know, it was a perpetual effort to try to protect people's quality of life, improve people's quality of life. This is a little different because the concepts are more macro. The return on the political investment is not immediate. There's not instant gratification on the things that you do, and you come up here and it's relatively thankless. Not amongst us here, but in general, it's relatively thankless, and you do get kind of beat up a little bit on the internet. But you know, listen, I'm away from my family. I'm essentially in South Georgia, so you know, a flip-flop wearing, tan tattooed Miami Beach guy doesn't go very far here. I'm like an alien to a lot of these guys, but I do have some really good contacts in my circle. I mean, my Democratic colleagues, especially some from the Palm Beach and Miami area, I consider them lifelong friends as a result of the process. But it truly is a sacrifice, the things that Senator Pizzo and I do for the community. And you know, it's hard. I don't articulate it much in public, but I can do it amongst friends here. And I know that most of you have my cell phone number, so whether I'm back home or I'm up here, I'm still back home, and you know that you can always hit me up, whether you're happy or sad with something that I'm doing, or you think that I'm missing something. You know, no, I'm not perfect. The bills I run and the legislation I try to fight for, I'm trying to fight for as many people as possible and trying to use my time up here as efficiently, as wisely as possible. So if you guys have questions or anything you want to say or comment, please, the floor is yours, and I'll be as candid as I can.
Yeah, let's definitely do it. Representative, you know, thank you. I mean, we can't thank you enough for all that you and Senator Pizzo are doing out there for us. I mean, as someone who's traveled back and forth to Tallahassee, this is my first legislative session that I have not. I get it. It's, I mean, I don't serve in the same role, but being away from home, it's not a lot of fun, and especially for all those long periods of time. So, but we appreciate it. So yeah, let's dive into some questions. Christopher, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you, Representative Grieco. And thanks for giving us the recap and for taking the lead on so many of those issues. I know, especially on HB1, you were a big lead voice on some of those committees. I've watched some of those hearings and really appreciate you taking the lead. I just want to also thank you for your vote on the trans bill that was kind of an attack on trans kids in Florida. For those of you who don't know, I'm now the president of the LGBTA Democratic Caucus here in Miami-Dade. And that is a bill that obviously we were watching super closely. It's the worst attack on the LGBT community in the state of Florida in 23 years. And, you know, there was a moment where we thought that it had died and, you know, gone away like it should have, but then kind of in a backroom deal, it got, well, probably, you know, I'd like to actually hear from you more because that's kind of how I interpreted it, but I'm sure you probably, you know, were there and know a little bit more about what happened.
Yeah, so nothing's ever dead, right? You know, until they call it until sine die, which is the the end of session until they drop the handkerchief, which is the ceremonial end of it all, and we gavel out. Until you hear that gavel and you go out on the hallway, nothing is dead. And things are going back and forth. And because I have a leadership role in the Democratic caucus, and I have a great relationship with our speaker. He listens to me. We come from a lot of the same backgrounds when it comes professionally, but a lot of these deals, they get cut in the ether. These are backroom deals, and they can tack things on to bills that really have nothing to do with it at the 11th hour, whether it be capping THC levels on marijuana that they always try to do every year, and they try to throw it on some other bill, or something else. If something dies as a freestanding bill, but then they tack it on it, and it's all in negotiating, because you've got the governor over here, you've got the budget over here, you've got the Senate president over here, you've got the House, the Speaker of the House over here, and everybody has their priorities, and they all they hold them all hostage, and they play chicken with each other until the last 48 hours, and then it's almost hard to keep up. And that's essentially what happened with the trans bill. And I don't want to say I took a back seat on that bill, but we have different people who operate in different silos. And yes, obviously I voted down that bill. It's a terrible bill. I mean, it's just, you know what it is? It's just, for anybody with virgin ears, cover your ears. It's just fucking mean. It's just mean. It's just mean. It's a problem looking, it's a solution looking for a problem, because there have been no issues with this. The state of Florida has standards already in place. The NCAA already has standards in place to deal with this, and to just have an open legislative dialogue about this, it's just mean. Trans kids have it rough enough. The increased likelihood of homelessness and suicide amongst folks in that community is super high. I work very close with Pride Lines. I know what goes on. I'm getting choked up talking about this, but it's just mean, man. It's just mean. So they did it, and it is what it is. And we're going to sue them, and I feel like we're going to sue them on all these bills, but they don't care. They just don't care.
Representative, do you have any sense as to when the governor's going to actually sign that bill? From what I'm hearing, it's like it's an any day situation. Is that what?
Whenever it is most politically advantageous to him. Okay.
Makes sense.
I'm going to let you guys know about the governor. It's simple. You may not like him. You may think he's a bad person, but he ain't stupid. Okay. He's actually way too smart. And there's a reason why Trump won Florida by 300,000 or so votes. Okay. There's a reason why the governor has the approval rating that he does, and that he politicizes everything. He's probably a murderer. The guy's killed people for what he's done with COVID over the last year and a half because of the decisions that he's made, but he doesn't care. And that's how it is. And, he's earned the name Death Santis for a reason. And, he does things. He's got one goal, and his goal is to get to the White House. He's going to fight real hard. And the only way that we stop that is we have him lose the governor's race. So whether it's Val Demings or Nikki Fried or whomever ends up being the Democratic, I don't care if the eventual nominee is not your cup of tea. I don't care if he or she does not get you excited. But at the end of the day, we need to nominate somebody who can win. And whoever it is, I don't care. It's kind of like if you didn't think Biden was the most exciting person on the planet, and a lot of people don't, it is what it is. You had to campaign for him like your life depends on it. And it's the same thing. These elections have consequences. We need to not only flip the governor's mansion, but we need to flip a lot of these House seats. We have opportunities in the Senate and the House. Ileana Garcia's seat is immediately up in the Senate, which was JJR's seat. And I work with her. I'm able to work with her. Her district overlaps with mine, as does Senator Pizzo's. He's not my only senator. So I work with her. We ran some appropriations together. I get along with her fine, but she's in a seat that belongs to a Democrat, and it needs to be returned where it needs to be returned to its owner, whoever that ends up being, whether it's JJR or another Democrat. But somebody needs to be in that seat, and that's not our Senate seat, but it's adjacent, and it impacts us, because losing a seat in the Senate was tragic. really has an impact on things. I mean, we also lost a couple Republican senators who didn't mind, kind of thumbing their nose at leadership, but we're in a place where we need to flip seats. I know it was a
Thank you.
super long tangent, but
Yes, that's okay.
I'm trying to get it all out.
No, listen, I think, it is important for us to hear this. And it's something that we continue to preach as well. I mean, we are constantly talking about 2021 or 2022 being so pivotal and so crucial for us as well. So to continue beating that, horse, I don't think it's beating a dead horse. We need to keep hearing it. All right, let's go to Janet Silverman has got a question, then Ariel's got one in the chat, and then we'll go to Natalie.
Hi, I wanted to ask, maybe this is going to show that I'm not reading enough of the Miami Herald or something, but can you explain exactly what is in the new gaming compact and, just broadly how it would expand gaming and broadly what, the state is allegedly getting from the Seminoles in return?
Okay, so the quick answer, when we woke up this morning, which has changed already. So the compact, which is essentially it's a memorandum of understanding between the governor and the Seminole tribe, which is a sovereign nation. The governor signed off on what was a barely negotiated deal and sent it over to us to create implementing legislation. So the compact itself this morning included not only an expansion of what they do on tribal land, but it also created an expansion that allowed for sports gambling, online sports gambling, as well as online gaming. So the online gaming piece was removed as an addendum this morning. That's before we ever took any action. And now we're in committee and now we're trying to tear it apart. So there's some revenue sharing. There's some local revenue sharing in the Broward County and Dade area. There's revenue sharing when it comes to the sports gaming piece. It expands the type of games that can be run at the Hard Rock, essentially. But the real issue is, and if you guys remember just a few years back, No Casinos successfully passed Amendment 3, and Amendment 3 was a trigger in the state constitution that says if there's any expansion of gambling in the state of Florida that's not on tribal lands, that it has to go to a statewide referendum. So if you go on Twitter, I'm getting quoted all over the place because I just lost my melon about an hour ago in committee. And I essentially said, how can you look us dead in the eye and say that you're being intellectually honest and saying that this is not an expansion of gaming if I can right now, if a year from now, I'm sitting in my hotel room in Tallahassee and I can place a bet on my phone, but you're just saying because the servers are physically on tribal land, that's not expansion of gaming in Florida. It's not intellectually honest. It's inconsistent with about 4 other bills that we passed this year. The compact does not impact us when it comes to any sort of portability of licenses, which is the immediate impact to Miami Beach, meaning that the pari-mutuel license that's owned by the same person or company that owns the Fontainebleau, they own a license up in Broward that they would love to, wedge right into the Fontainebleau. They won't be able to do that based upon this deal, nor will it have any impact on the former Miami Herald site when it comes to the Genting company. But it doesn't stop it either, meaning that it leaves it open for future consideration. But we're not going to be addressing any sort of portability that would directly impact Miami Beach in the 2021 cycle.
Thank you. Ariel's got a question in the chat. He says he's curious to know, would like to know if there's any discussion about ending unemployment benefits in Florida early like the other 12 states so far have announced. Ariel, if there's anything else that you wanted to expand upon that, feel free to go for it.
So obviously unemployment was a complete disaster throughout the entire year. I think it's ironic that they have no problem calling a special session about gambling, but in the fall when people couldn't get their unemployment checks because Rick Scott and the legislature essentially created a system that was designed to fail so nobody could get their unemployment benefits, they didn't want to call a special session for that. So, the irony is not lost on anybody, and they've been called out on it publicly and privately for that. There's right now, I believe the benefits are set to expire in September, but if it were to naturally expire, there's no conversation about arbitrarily ending those early. So, and we wouldn't be discussing that in this session, but privately or amongst the legislators that I've spoken with, it's not even a topic of conversation.
Natalie's got a question. We'll go to Joyce.
Thank you, Matthew. Hi, Representative Grieco. It's a pleasure to see you. And thank you so much for your work in our community and for our community. I really appreciate your frank talk, and this briefing on the session is just great. I share your concern about 2022. I'm trying to enjoy, a respite from what we were just coming out of, but, I'm already worried. And my question is, do you, or maybe Matthew, you may know as well, do the Florida Democrats have a plan to launch a campaign to counter the whole socialist communist accusation that I think really impacts the way that people vote? I think the reason that people vote for raising unemployment, but then still vote against Democrats, is because they don't understand, or they fall prey to the propaganda about us being communists and socialists. And if there is not an organized plan, can we start making one? I feel like we need a marketing campaign to counter what gets circulated in the WhatsApps and the social media and all of that.
All right, so last week when I was back home, I got brought in by the Miami-Dade Democrats and the Miami-Dade Young Democrats to we did a little presser on denouncing the legislation of 2021. And I got up there and I grabbed the mic and I said, you know whose fault it is? It's the Democrats' fault.
Yes.
You can't blame the Republicans for being Republicans. And if they win more elections than we do, they're just going to be more Republicans. They're going to file more red meat, and it's our fault. If we can't develop a bench of candidates, if we can't stop fighting amongst ourselves because we're such a big tent, and we can't embrace our differences, but understand that at the end of the day, it's about winning elections. And we are way too good at being right, and we need to be better at winning, obtaining power, and learning how to keep it. So that's the problem that we have. These guys on the other side, they're like pick every evil character from every movie and comic book. Okay, they're really good at this. They are really good at putting their thumb on every scale that they can put their thumb on in order to make it that much more difficult for us to win elections and to gain seats. We had an opportunity in 2020, regardless as to what happened with Trump and statewide stuff, individual elections, we had an opportunity to have over 50 plus members of the Florida House be Democrats. And we lost seats instead of gaining them. And it's a combination of factors. I think our current leadership for the Florida Democratic Party is where we need to be. I think Manny's going to do a great job. I think that, and people don't want to hear about this, it is about money. Everybody's got to stop with the purity tests about fundraising, because you want to talk about messages, Natalie. You want to talk about countering messages. It's kind of hard to counter a message, with carrier pigeons when these guys are buying TV ads up by the millions and buying up newspaper ads and putting little, propaganda leaflets in the El Nuevo Herald until the Herald actually figures it out 2 years later. And they own the airwaves on Hispanic radio. Like, you want to have these conversations. I'll shout from the rooftops about this. I went unopposed in 2020, but had I not, they weren't going to touch me because they know where I am on the Cuba stuff and a few other things. But generally speaking, a lot of people, they when you read headlines, you don't read headlines about, me being pragmatic. You read headlines about, a couple of my colleagues who I love to death. These are people that, everybody's got a role, but it doesn't sell newspapers to be boring and moderate. It sells newspapers to be, AOC, and so, and a few other people. I mean, look at what we're reading in the papers now. Everybody's flipping out because, with everything that's going on in Israel and what some of the Democrats are saying about it, because it sells ads and it sells newspapers, but it doesn't help us win elections. And at the end of the day, new candidates get tapped as socialists, or, the other one is defund the police and all of the stuff that goes along with that. And yeah, you can't counter that without money, and you can't counter that without the will to understand that we need to start learning that politics is a very important part of politics. And politics means elections. It means being able to find the right candidates and understanding that just because a candidate may not be your cup of tea, that candidate may be the person that we need to win. And I'm proud enough of the entire country choosing Joe Biden, because Joe Biden was perfect for the job, which was to get that other guy out. That's great. Okay. Joe Biden is not going to be the greatest president ever. And he's not lighting anybody on fire. Nobody's really super excited about anything that he's got going on, but we needed him. He served a purpose. We got the guy out, saved the country from setting us back 100 years. Great. But now we need to do this in Florida. And the only way that you do it in Florida is we need to assess who is the best candidate to do that at the state level and then all the way down ballot. So whether it's Val Demings, if she jumps in, whether it be Nikki Fried, whether it be Charlie Crist, we need to find somebody who is going to give the governor a run for his money and will help those down ballot candidates and carry them across the finish line for those that can't fundraise properly, or they're not running a well-organized campaign. Now we have, on the House side, we have House Victory. On the Senate side, we have Senate Victory. These are independent campaign and political operations, and they're going to do what they need to do. But on the local level, we need to look past our district. I don't foresee, our district is so blue. You guys don't really have to burn any rope with me or with Pizzo for the most part. But there's other campaigns that as we get closer, I'm going to be inviting other candidates that we're trying to flip seats on to get us all kind of rallied, and we're going to find a few of them to really go knock on some doors for them, because apparently COVID's canceled, so we can go knock on doors. I didn't get the memo, but I mean COVID's canceled, so we can go do whatever. But we need to learn how to win elections, and I'm not big into holding hands and talking about puppy dogs and ice cream and rainbows. It's about work and it's about money. And then the messaging will fall into place at the state level, and it'll trickle down, and that's really from the Florida Democratic Party.
Thank you, Michael. I think that's also super helpful, I think, for us to hear. And I think something that we are looking forward to is hopefully be able to adopt some of those districts. It's something we've been able to do in the past when we haven't had super competitive elections, but being able to have those kind of like sister districts and do phone banking and postcards in those. And so we'll certainly look to you as to some of those House districts and which ones we can be helping out and making the most impact on. So thank you. We will go ahead. Joyce Zaritsky, it's going to be our final question of the evening. Joyce, take it away.
Michael, I actually have a question and an idea. I read today that the bill that passed was 2 years ago that was not allowing doctors to mention gun safety has now been overturned by the state Supreme Court. I'm sure you know about that. And that Rick Scott has had to pay over $1 million, which is probably 10 cents for us. So I'm wondering how many of these bills that are being passed will be able to be challenged, and whether the ACLU or the league or anyone is interested in challenging them, because it strikes me that is a path with this legislature wanting to make voting more difficult. I did want to ask you what may seem like a trivial question also. It struck me when they said you couldn't hand out water, whether you could do what the museum in Metropolitan Museum does in New York, and that is pay what you please.
Okay, so on the water food issue, it's not as bad as it was. Like originally, it was just an overall
yeah, but
prohibition.
It says hand out. That's why I asked you.
Yeah, but now I mean you can first of all, I think there was some expansion on the no solicitation or the no politicking area, and that's obviously a no in that area. But the real issue is as long as it's not being done in conjunction with politics. So if it's being done and there's no kind of implied or appearance of quid pro quo or something political, you can still do it. So you can still give somebody a bottle of water or a slice of pizza, as long as you're not wearing a campaign shirt or you're not telling somebody to vote for somebody. So again, that was something that the original version was a lot worse than the final product. So I'm not too worried about that. I think you'd have a bunch of legal issues with that. Going back to your question at the beginning, there have already been lawsuits filed on essentially all the bad bills, and we have much more luck and a much better chance in federal court than we do in state court. The state courts, I mean, Ron DeSantis has already, between county and circuit courts, I think he's made over 120 appointments to either county or circuit courts since he's been in office over the last 2.5, 3 years. So that's just at the trial level and at the district court level and the Supreme Court as well. So we're not going to find as friendly a reception in the state court system. You know, you want to think that all the judges are neutral arbiters, and I believe in the system. But when things are politicized as much as they are, I think that it's much better to take things into the federal court system where they're lifetime appointments. It's less politicized regardless as to who appointed them, and you can really flesh out federal constitutional issues, especially
who ruled on the issue of doctors not being able to of the freedom of speech issue, not being able to talk about gun safety? That was just concerned.
I don't remember. I remember
Just
reading
read it today.
But it was determined to be a First Amendment issue.
Yes.
So I mean, that's
what rule did it, but it has been ruled unconstitutional.
that I don't know. I mean, I can look it up as we're talking right now.
Yes. So, I
But
don't say who ruled, but it said the Supreme Court. So I thought it was the Florida State Supreme Court that would have ruled that, not the federal Supreme Court. You don't know.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. It says here. No, I mean, I'm seeing some things. It looks like it's federal. It looks like the actual U.S. Supreme Court.
I see. So
I'll circle back and I'll double check with you on that.
It may
But
be a little helpful.
there's a lot of bills. I mean, I mean, listen, the abortion bills that they've run over the last couple of years. I mean, they literally fly in the face of existing case law. These are actual bills that had been passed before, were actually struck down by the courts, and then they just think, oh, well, we've got a more favorable court, we're just going to file them again and ignore precedent. So they don't care. They don't care. And candidly, why should they? Because they have all the power. They're only a handful of seats away from having a supermajority. They are 2 seats away from having a supermajority, which means that even if something requires a 2/3 vote, they don't need 1 Democrat.
Well, thank you. I was surprised to see that it had, and that Rick Scott had to pay some money. So I was wondering what you knew about that, but I was pleasantly surprised. Some good news.
All right, thank you, Joyce. Appreciate that. Representative, any final last words, any last thoughts for us?
No, what I'm going to do, let's see if I can get to everyone in the chat. I'm typing my cell phone number in the chat, and I'll give you like my social media stuff so you guys can watch all my antics, because I try to stay as entertaining as I can. And it's not because I don't take everything that I do up here serious, because I do, but if you can't make light of it, I'm gonna find myself like hanging myself out the window here, because it's rough. It's tough to get. It's real. I'll leave you with this. Walking in every day, knowing that you're going to lose, and just hoping that you don't lose as badly as you could. I mean, it's not a good feeling. It's not. And we try to make the best of it, and we try to take a few wins here or there. But it is a frustrating experience. But I have no intention of giving up, and I have no intention of slowing down at all. My heels are dug in, and I am here for you guys as much as I can be. And please use me as a resource, as I do for you. I know that many of you I reach out to, and I pick your brains, and because you have different expertise in different fields, and I don't have all the answers. I really don't have many answers. But I think that for me, I have a unique ability to synthesize the input that you all give me, and I try to make it work and slide it in where I can, and try to make bad stuff better, try to make good stuff great, and like I said, I'm here for you guys.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Michael. We really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for doing the good work that you're doing up there in Tallahassee.
You got it.
Good
And I'll
luck.
see you guys. I'll see you guys soon for that beer.
Yes.
Hey, Matt,
Yeah. Yes, Janet.
can I say something before Mike goes?
Go for it.
I just want to say, Biden was not my first choice in the election. I will be clear about that, but I campaigned as hard as I could. But I just want to disagree with you in a little bit about, that he won't light people's hair on fire. I mean, he's a very mild-mannered guy, but I think the message that we can, use about the Biden administration to date is that we were one of the worst countries in the world in response to COVID, and we're one of the best countries in the world in getting vaccines out. And that is just competence in an administration and somebody actually, excuse my language, giving a shit about the people of the country. And I think that's a powerful message, because we ranked in the lowest part of responding to COVID. We had a very high death rate compared to our population, compared to other nations. And we are, with precision, getting vaccines out. Everybody in this country can get a vaccine if they want one, if they would just roll up their sleeve and get one. And I think that's something that we should run on, that at least that we competently can run government. And I think it's important to point that out.
So Janet, I real quick before that, I think that it's a great point. And I want to be clear about what I'm saying here. What you just said is amazing. People have the attention span of a shoe. Americans have the attention span of a shoelace. We live in a world where people are like, oh, I read this article about this. I'm like, no, you didn't. You read a headline and then you moved on with your day. And the problem is that everything is about sound bites. What you said was amazing, except the elevator already opened, and it's a very hard thing to articulate being efficient. Good government is not necessarily politically advantageous. What's politically advantageous is the governor getting up there and going, no vaccine passports. And then the base gets all worked up. And then the people that run that stupid school in Miami write a $500,000 check. I mean, DeSantis has $30 million in his political committee, cash on hand, because big business loves him. And the crazy far right. I mean, listen, more than, 70% of Republicans think the election was stolen. This is the world we live in. This is the world that we live in right now. Okay. And whether you're going to get the vaccine, not get the vaccine, but the anti-vax community and all of these, I agree 100% with everything that you said. But to package that in a politically advantageous way in a world of sound bites is the challenge that we as Democrats have, because we're right. We're better at government. We're better at this. But there's got to be a happy medium between being right and being good, and being able to control the dialogue and the conversation, both on a national, statewide, and even local level, in order to ensure that we win the elections for the incumbents and then we flip seats, because it's all math. Everything comes down to math. We're counting votes in the House, we're counting votes in the Senate, we're counting votes in general. So I'm with you. I don't want it to be misinterpreted in any way that I think Biden's doing great. But at the same time, you've got a lot of progressives, even in the US House, that are not Biden fans, and they make his job very difficult, because they're pushing a much more progressive agenda, which there is a time and a place for that. But at the same time, sometimes it's because we have a wider bandwidth within our party than the Republicans do, especially with our base. We have to do a delicate dance amongst progressives, moderates, fiscally conservative blue dog Democrats versus liberals. It's a huge challenge that we have, but we have to coalesce, and we have to really just get behind whoever it is that's going to be running for governor, and make sure that we're supporting our candidates, even if we're not as excited as we would be about who it is that got the nomination.
I'm just saying that I think that there are some simple messages around it, like, Democrats, opened the country by distributing vaccines in 6 months. I mean, 6 months, he's been in office 5 months, right? I mean, look at the difference. My life has been transformed in the past whatever months because I got vaccinated, and now I can go about and do my entire life, right? And I just think that that's a simple message. I think I'm not a marketing person, but you can put that on a bumper sticker. Someone could figure it out, like call Donnie Joy. She's a marketing person, like get a bumper sticker and you put it out, right? I mean, there are ways to package these messages that I think can be very motivating to people. And I agree with you that Republicans have lost their minds, but most of the voters in the country are independents, and I think that they can be won with simple messages. That's all I'm saying.
Great point. Great point.
All righty. Well, thank you again, Representative. Thank you, Janet. I appreciate that.
Oh my God, look at your hair.
What? Oh,
at
did
all
you
that
just now
hair.
see it? Yeah, I have a lot of hair. It's long. I know. I've grown it out. It's pretty long. I have all the hair now. I could just buzz it off like you. I'll do that. All right.
You're lucky to still grow it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you being with us tonight. Really, really, really do. All right. Is there any new business for anybody from the floor? All right. Seeing that there is no new business, I just want to remind everybody again, our first phone bank will be this Saturday, May the 22nd from 12 to 3 p.m. We will go and I'm going to drop the link back into the chat again. You can sign up there. You can also sign up for the other two shifts that we have upcoming in June on the 16th from 5 to 8 p.m. and then also Saturday, June the 19th from 12 to 3. We'll keep you posted if we end up doing anything else like text banks or additional phone banks. And then our next meeting will be held on Monday, June the 21st via Zoom at 7 p.m. That's a wrap. We will. Oh, yep. Yes. Yes, Etta.
Are we going to be? How do we find out whether our voted by mail registration is lapsing or not?
You can go to this website. I'll put it in the chat right now. Votefromhome.miami. And on there, it's going to redirect you to the Miami-Dade County elections website. You'll be able to put in I think it's your last name, the digits of your address, and I think your date of birth, I think is what you need. And it'll tell you once you click that in there, you can scroll down and it'll tell you if your vote by mail ballot request is still active or if it's expired. You can sign back up online there.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Jeff, did you have a question?
No, yeah, one more comment about that.
Go for it.
I think everybody who has already submitted a vote by mail request probably needs to check their signature. I do that regularly every time I submit a request. As time goes on, your signature changes.
Amen.
And so you really want to make sure of that. You can do it pretty much the same time you validate or confirm your own registration. Thanks.
Absolutely, and that's great advice, Jeff. I mean, I think that's something that we should all heed is that, every couple of general election cycles, you should always just update your signature to make sure they've got a very valid one on the books for you so that when they compare your signature, whether you're voting in person or by mail, that it counts.
Every time I sign something, I think my signature is different.
It happens.
Keep a copy of your signature so that you know what it was.
There you go.
Good idea.
All right, seeing nothing further. Oh, yes, something else. Oh, Valerie, go for it.
Yes, if I may offer a suggestion. You
Sure.
guys were talking about the membership. Why don't you make auto renewable memberships? And like a month before it expires, you send an email reminding people your membership will be automatically renewed on the blah, blah, blah. Because it's much easier for people to just say, oh, okay, yeah, just do it. Then you request, okay, renew your membership. Oh, okay, now I have to log in. I have to do this.
Yeah.
So
no, thank you. That's a great suggestion. I don't know if the platform that we use is done through the Democratic Party. It's kind of their platform, so it's called Nation Builder. I don't know if that's a possibility, but it's certainly something we can look into and seeing if it is. And we would certainly let our members know ahead of time that they were going to be automatically renewing or let them opt out of that or whatever needs to be done. But thank you. That's a great suggestion. We'll look
and
into it.
besides, when people first sign in, you put a note and you say,
Yep.
Thank you for your donation, or your membership, and it will be auto-renewed on, or something like that.
Perfect. Well, we'll look into it. Thanks for the suggestion, Valerie.
Take care. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thank you,
Jeff, you're
everybody.
looking fantastic as usual.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Bye, Gail. Bye, everyone.